You guys, welcome. I'm seeing you here, Chris Duda, Corey Everts, Jennifer, Allison, Adam Wilkins. Hey, what's up? We got people coming in from all over. We want to know, where are you joining us from? I see you coming in. I see you, Ben. I see you, Abby. But don't worry, I just see your names. If you have dogs behind you, if you have kids in the background, if you're still in your PJs, if you're joining us from, the other side of the world and it's nighttime there, you get to meet me and Matt today. You can see us, but we can't see you, but we know you're here. And the way we do these conversations is we invite you in to be right around the coffee table with us. So I got my coffee, Matt's got his water. This is an interactive conversation. We have folks saying, hey, we're joining. Ben's from Rochester, New York. Adam's from Long Island. We got folks coming in Vancouver, British Columbia for Allison. So welcome, 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 everybody who's joining us in here. We want to know where you're coming from. So just drop that over in the chat. We have Corey from tropical southwestern Wisconsin in the Midwest. So tropical. It's like 30 degrees here today. Feels like temperature. So Corey, you got a little more warmth a little bit south. I'm up in Duluth, Minnesota on the Great Lakes. And we got Matt joining us from the mountains of Colorado today. Matt, how are things in the mountains? How are you doing?
They're good. It's Colorado, so it's always nice and sunny. So it's very nice. It's very
I've
nice.
never not been on a call with a Coloradan who doesn't say how much sun you get. It's like, yep, we always got over 300 days of sun. That's one of your things that you say, which is true. So your attitudes are good around that. So glad to have everybody here as you're getting just kind of into it with us. I want to give a little bit of an intro as we keep hearing from folks. Jermaine's joining us from California, Mike from North Carolina, Joyce from New Hampshire, Sandy from Chanhassen, Minnesota. So we got folks kind of all over here, Matt, to hear you, including more Coloradans, more North Carolinians. Today we're focusing on the future, and we're looking at what's happening today in the industry, what's happening in the future in the industry, and specifically around how bathing and hospitality are overlapping. And so our title today is The Future of Hospitality is Bathing. And we brought in Matt Laird. Matt is the VP of Wellness Consulting for Hutchinson Consulting and the art group that is doing folks some of the best work all over the world. So really working, and you're going to hear a little bit of Matt's story. Matt is industry expert. If you have questions that are specific, Matt probably not only knows the answer, he lived the answer in a previous life while he was operating a spa halfway around the world, or he's working with people who are solving that. So today we're going super wide, and we're going to focus in when you have questions. So please don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. That's one of our goals here, is to get to know you, to hear your questions, and to answer as many of them as we can as we go. You can do that in the Q&A button, and then you can give any comments like you have in the chat bubble. Lindsay and our team will be following that along the way. As we go there, I do want to just kick off with our poll question. We want to hear from you. Who are you, and how'd you get here, and how are you thinking about this in terms of the wellness industry? Talk to us. Give us a click right now on, in what ways are you interested in the business of sauna? Are you an enthusiast? You're like, man, I care about hospitality and I like sauna. I want to be in that room, hear from these folks. Maybe you're somebody who's working on starting a business like this. You're focused in, you're like, hey, I see the future. I'm reading the tea leaves. I want to be a part of this. Or you're somebody who has the doors open, and we are cheering you on right with you. You're thinking about scale, you're thinking about operations. Uh, David Jones, I see you in the room. You could be thinking about that. We got Chris Duda with us. We got Jacoby here from Austin. What's up, Jacoby? Good to see you. Cold plunge veteran down there, doing some cool things, envisioning a big sauna space. Josh Vickerin, Catherine Rosado, welcome you guys. Press that button. Let us know who you are in the room. And as you're doing that, I want to come back to Matt and basically just say, hey, we're kind of split here. We have about a third of the room in each of these buckets. Third of the people are focused in as enthusiasts. 36% are focused in as starting. They're sort of in the developing stages. And we got 30% of the people right now who've clicked that are currently running a business. So we have a really, really healthy spread. This is how we learn together. We're going to have folks that are at every stage in that. Um, And Matt, I know you're in this with every level of folks, with the executives, with the operators, with the developers. Um, we're honored to have you here. And so as we begin, I just want to say thank you. So glad to have you here. And I think these folks need to get to know you. Um, as we get into the time, I want to spend a little bit of time, Matt, hearing from you. And how did you get into the wellness industry broadly? And what are the ways that you're sort of seeing this? So give us your origin stories. Where'd you come from? How'd you get into the industry?
Sure, cool. Well, thank you for having me here. It's been a pleasure. I hope you've got subtitles for all the people who need help with my accent, because I am
We
from
love the good Scottish brogue. Don't you worry.
because I am from Scotland, you know. So I hope people don't have any trouble. Um, so I've been in this business for a long time. I started off in fitness, you know, started off in health clubs, back in Edinburgh, and then moved to London, worked in London for a while, and then pivotally went to go and work for Hilton for 10 years in the Middle East. So I started off in, you know, being a running health clubs. And then by the time I left Hilton, I was looking after beach clubs in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Al Ain. And you know, so I looked after 7 different types of clubs. So that was my real operational grounding in 5-star hospitality, because it was 5-star, you know, it was fancy clubs. And then after that, I kind of then what to get back home. Went back home, was in London, ran the Harbour Club in London, which was the club where Princess Diana was a member, which was always a blast.
What
We'd hear
was
the,
it like when she showed up?
oh my
What
gosh,
happens to a club when the princess shows up?
we'd hear her, we'd hear the sirens, and then the paparazzi would all appear. We had a fence around it, so they'd be there with their ladders and their huge cameras. And then when she brought her kids, when she brought Will and Harry, it was even more bonkers, you know. So that was a treat, but she was actually very grounded, to be honest with you, you know. She was very grounded. So anyway, so we did that, which was tremendous. Um, and then was lucky enough to meet Sue Harmsworth from ESPA. ESPA are one of the leading, you know, spa companies in Europe. And Sue Harmsworth is a sort of industry expert. She took a shine to me, I think, because her first husband was Scottish. So there was something there. She liked the accent or something. So Sue took me on, and I worked in her consultancy team for a couple of years and looked after spas all across Europe. So Four Seasons Lisbon, and then some really iconic hotels, the Gleneagles Hotel in Scotland, Turnberry Hotel in Scotland. You know, just lovely, lovely, really lovely properties. Um, did that for 2 years, and then went to work for Six Senses in Thailand, and I ran a destination wellness resort in Phuket, which was a tremendous experience. Got to meet Sonu, who was the head of, you know, set up Six Senses, truly inspirational figure as well. So, you know, just a great experience. And medically, we had a team of doctors, we had a team of fitness people, we had a team of naturopaths. We had the resort actually had 300 employees, so it was you know, a big deal. And did that for a couple of years, and then went to go and work for a company called Resense based out of Geneva in Switzerland, where I was the global projects director, and where I really got to see a lot of different wellness modalities. You know, we did projects in China and Africa, Ghana, you know, Australia, Mexico. I mean, I did like probably 300 projects from scratch all the way through to opening in a period of 10 years. So, you know, I got to see a lot, and I got to see a lot of bathing, you know. So I say with my career, it's kind of I was in the right place at the right time, and I got to see a lot of things that I can now copy, if I'm really honest. I joined AAG, joined Hutchinson as their VP of Wellness Consulting. So, you know, now I'm doing this for I've been now in America for 7 years, so I've got to really get to grips with the American market and stuff and see where it's going and what's happening. So I think I've just been lucky and been in the right place at the right time, you know.
Well, so if everybody's following along here, you've now been aware of we brought in the big guns for this talk. Matt has had experience globally in multiple different sort of levels, modalities, from the fitness concept to clubs to spa to hotel. And I wanted to bring Matt on because I think there's very few people, Matt, who see the market and the industry as widely as you and still has the depth of, hey, you've been an operator, you understand how the things work. And so today we're going to really unpack that for people. What's happening in the wellness industry today? Like, what's the today heartbeat and pulse? What are we seeing that's growing and interesting? And then also, what's the future look like? So
Yep.
stick around. You guys don't jump off. There is so much good stuff that Matt is going to be sharing. Um, and thanks for everybody who's joined in along the way. We see more folks coming in, saying where they're coming from. As you go, please click the Q&A button because what's I think going to happen here, because Matt's got so much experience, is you're going to have really specific questions, and we want to get to those as we go. So we're going to save a bunch of time at the end. Ask them along the way when Matt says something like, "Oh my gosh, six senses in Thailand, what was that like?" Ask a specific question there, and we'll try to get to it. We'll make time for it. So Matt, let's dig in. You've done it all. You somehow still look like you're 37 and looking great. It must be because you're in the wellness industry. Um, and you were talking about your red light over your left
Yeah.
shoulder there this morning. Yep, you're doing the modalities. And I want to talk about what is kind of how is hospitality embracing wellness today? And my gut on that is we are past the age of come stay, sleep, and maybe get a massage. Like it seems like these things now, wellness is expected. It's core to the business, it's a revenue generator. But what are you seeing? And talk a little bit about what's the today version of hospitality embracing wellness? What does that look like to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good question. I think now that and we work with all shapes and sizes. We work with some of the global brands, and then we also work with, mom and pop startups. We do, we have a really wide remit, so we get to see a lot of different things. I would say that with the starting with the big players, the Hiltons, the Accors, the Marriotts, and what have you and stuff. They've seen a pivot, and this is predominantly because of COVID. COVID kind of locked everyone away, everyone got disconnected, and now there's a a demand for people to be together and to connect and to have an experience. In our world, we talk about a little bit about the joy crisis. You know, there was not a lot of joy going around in COVID, as we all know. There was not, and even then, it's taken a while to get. So there was that. You know, where's the fun gone? And I think that's where wellness now is. It's about fun. Nobody ever said, "Oh, I'm not going back there. I had too much fun. It was too enjoyable." And hotels are all about repeat business. They want you to come back. They want you to have a great, and they want you to form relationships with their brands. So I think that's been the big change that they've. There was a lot maybe of well washing before, stuff that was maybe a bit of over promising of things. Hey, put this cream on, you're going to look 20 years younger. Did it work? Did it not work? Yes, maybe to a degree, but the benefits of a proper wellness experience, and by wellness I mean you know, proper rest, movement, nutrition, that stuff, sleep. Sleep is probably the big one. That's, really now hospitality businesses have realized, okay, this is what people are looking for. So I think that's been a big fundamental shift in the last 5 years. And then how does bathing fit into that? Slap in the middle, slap in the middle.
I think that's right. I mean, we're in the age of anxiety. We're over digitized, and there's a yearning for a good night's rest. There's a yearning for being in human spaces with people. And opulence today, luxury today, looks a little more like health, wellness, good food, connection with people. It isn't just being seen by the paparazzi. It isn't just, like you said before, the sort of like snake oil. Hey, maybe this thing is going to be a little better for you, although some of that still exists. I think the main players, what we're seeing is the mainstreamification of these older modalities like sauna, cold plunge, spa, bathing culture. And it's these moments of disconnect from the digital and being very present in the human, wherever that place is in the world. So also, Matt, hotels move slowly in my experience, right? They're big ships to turn. And so what are you seeing in terms of, and maybe this is a little bit of the show and tell of what are you actually seeing then being built in the market, right? Because it's one thing to say, cool, Hilton's going to invest in this. They have resources, they can plan years and years ahead. They're going to make a strategic decision and reinvent their spa spaces with new modalities. And then there's mom and pop stuff that's way more nimble. So talk a little bit about what are some examples of what you're seeing in the market today?
Yeah. So I mean, I'd like to show some pictures to people so they can see a few things. So
Yeah,
I'll
let's do
definitely
it.
do that. Yeah, I would say that one thing is now it's about having an authentic story. You have to be authentic, and you have to, you know, luxury in the past, I think, was perhaps, very stiff, quite, everyone's got to be professional, everybody's standing to attention, yes, sir, and that's kind of, it definitely is still there, but that element of warmth and being genuine and really seeing guests and making them feel valued, that's what's super important, So that has changed as well, and that really totally embraces wellness. So, you know, let me show you and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the future and stuff as well, but I would say that because I do want to focus on America a little bit, is that let me share my screen. Um, is that Canada is leading the way with you know um, the bathing model. Canada probably has 30 different, and these are all new spas that I'm showing you here that are coming. And I'm going to go quite quickly, everybody. So I apologize if I make you feel a bit car sick or whatever, because there's a lot coming, and there's a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity. It's about what outdoor spaces you have. You can see here they've got yurts, they've got saunas and yurts, they've got changing spaces and yurts. They're lovely hotels, but they're making, they're adding what outdoor spaces can I get to put in some element of bathing and wellness. And there's a lot of, it's that sort of combination of indoors, outdoors, because a lot of our clients are luxury, but they're not totally. We're going to talk about a little bit about this one a bit later on. But these guys, Strom, Scandinavia Spa, Group Nordic, these are the ones to watch. These guys have got 4, 5, 6 spas, and they're all the same concept: hot, cold, creating journeys for people. You want to sleep better, follow this journey. You want to be revitalized, follow this journey. So a revitalized journey could be more cold. Sleep journeys, hey, build up the heat gently in your body. Do wet heat, do dry heat. You know, and I'm going to go a little bit quicker because you'll get the gist of this now when you see this, what they're all doing. And there's literally 30 of these, and they're all shapes and all sizes, but you see the theme. It's outdoors, it's indoors, it's connected to nature, it's about an experience. As I said earlier, I've probably been to 300 spas in my, 400, 500 spas. Half of them I don't remember. I'll never forget some of these. Canaskets, which I've been to, this one here, it's a tremendous experience. It's not crazy big. It's just really well done. It's really connected to nature. And then all these others, they have a story. They're authentic. They're just providing something that's such a great, memorable experience. It's sociable. The Aufguss. This is an Aufguss ceremony here in the middle, which came from Germany originally, but now has been embraced. We've seen that we're doing this in projects in Las Vegas. We're doing this in projects in New York. Othership is a great example. Othership's really, if people haven't seen Othership's, really worthwhile looking them out. Bathhouse as well. They're just tremendous, fun experiences. So you can really see now these things are getting are big and they're quite impressive, but they're also a lot more cost effective. Doing outdoor stuff is a lot more cost effective than doing indoor things. So I don't want to bore everyone to tears here, but you get the gist of it. And these guys
I,
all want to come to America. These guys all
I,
want to come to America.
Matt, I think everybody's on the edge of their seat seeing all these examples. Not boring to tears. I think this is Nick's already saying looks incredible. And I think there's a version here of this that I want to highlight. One is Canadian culture is probably a little bit better at resting than American culture. Uh,
Yes.
America is truly built on the bootstrap, go hard, hustle culture, keep going. And I think we're bad at rest. And because of that, these things we're lagging behind in. Now, I think we're in this crisis of joy moment you mentioned, or the age of anxiety that I always say.
Yep.
It's like I think we're starting to realize that hustle culture didn't give the promise. And now we need to be thinking in what are the modalities here that do make this work. I would highlight scales really interesting to look at here. Outdoors are really interesting. And then there's deeply a connection to culture and history and tradition and ritual here that I would say in American culture, we often see the biohacker mentality. We see the the fitnessification of bathing, right? How hot should it be? How many minutes should I be in it to get the highest benefit? I think those questions are secondary when you go into a space like this. Those questions are, I feel good. I know it's good for me. I asked that question. I heard about that, but that's not only why I'm here to get my daily dose, to do my protocol. Would you riff on that with me about this dynamic of kind of ritual and culture versus fitnessification and doing reps? I think I'm talking about bathing culture versus fitness culture a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Nell's over here giving me the 100%. Uh, give your thoughts on that, Matt.
yeah. Um, I think now that so the culture of bathing has been, in Europe, we've had it for thousands of years, and it's been there for thousands of years, predominantly because it works. It does, it works, and I think there's been a lot of stuff now. One of the real trends we're seeing is recovery. You know, the red light machine, compression pants, cryotherapy, all of these different modalities and different devices that help you recover quickly. We're starting to see more of them coming into gyms and stuff as well. Uh, there's probably not a pro athlete who doesn't take an ice bath in the world now, following games. And we've worked on a couple of projects like Juve, the guys who do this, they've got a red light room at the San Francisco 49ers. The pro football guys who could do anything in the world, they choosing to do red light because they know it works. And so I think that's with bathing is we know it works, you know. So it's just a kind of a bit more of an education with, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How long do I do it for? And I think there's a lot of, like, cold plunge bros who are out there. You got to do 8 minutes. You got to do 10 minutes. You got to do. It's like, forget that. Why don't you do what makes you happy and do what you get a benefit from? Don't torture yourself. I have to stay in here for 5 minutes until it really hurts. Don't do that. Just do 2 minutes and build it up gradually, and enjoy part of the process of it. And the other thing sorry, I would just want to say about sauna and cold plunge is that what it does, it gets people out your head. You know, we all spend too much time thinking about nonsense. So cold plunge and sauna. Okay, maybe in the cold plunge, all you can think about is when can I get out? When can I get out? When can I get out? But it takes your mind away from it, and it does give you a feeling of rest. So afterwards, you feel a sense of, oh, okay, okay, okay. I'm back to me a little bit again.
I think that's so right. And there's a sign here of, the American sort of like push and challenge yourself,
Yes,
and then
yes,
it's good for you because it's hard.
yes.
The counterintuitive piece around bathing culture is the benefits feel good. It's actually the easiest thing to do. I joke with people all the time. When you're in the sauna, it's the easiest form of cardio workout you can do. You get to just go laze upon the benches for a little bit. You're going to get a light cardio workout. And we have data now that is sort of the science to back up the cultural wisdom, but the science has just caught up. People around the world have known this for millennia, that hot and cold are good for us, that bathing culture is good for us, that slowing down and sleeping well is good for us. Tie this back to hospitality, Matt. Why is that important to
Yeah,
the hotel, the resort, the spa, the recovery rooms? Talk a little bit about how those are then getting embraced in the business models of hospitality.
yeah, yeah. So I think let's still talk about recovery first of all. So recovery is something that hotels can do fairly easily. It's not hugely expensive, and you just need an unused space. And every hotel in the world now, especially the older hotels, have all got business centers that nobody uses anymore. Who trusts a computer in a business center? Nobody. If you want spam for the rest of your life, yeah, go and log on to that. So nobody uses them anymore. So I think that we're working with a major hotel chain, and they see the opportunity here to create this area where it improves guest satisfaction, can generate you a little bit of revenue. Doesn't need to be a ton of revenue. Doesn't need a lot of people to run it. You just need to have that creativity to find the space to do a recovery zone, and that is predominantly, it's driven by, hydro massage, compression pants. But there's some really interesting. There's a company that does a thing called back hug. Hydro massage have got this polar wave chair. There's some really interesting devices now that are not crazy expensive, that you can put into your hotel, that then will just improve guest satisfaction, and that's all of it. And then the second things I would say is that with hotels, they may not eat in your restaurant, they may not go to your spa, they may not even go to your gym. They're certainly not going to go to your pool, but they will sleep. So if you can help them sleep better, then you're going to, and that needs a bit of thought. You know, we're working again with another major hotelier on how can you improve the sleep experience, you know, filtered air, blackout blinds, noise cancellation, you know, smells, you know, the science around aromas and smells helping you sleep better and stuff now is becoming really strong. So there's lots of stuff that hotels are starting to do now that is not just wellness washing of, hey, we have a spa and forget about it. They're trying to incorporate how do we bring wellness into part of our DNA and what we do because it benefits the guests, you know.
Matt, there's a good question coming in from Nell, and she's somebody who I know who's worked in the bathing culture industry for a long, long time. Go check out Sweat Temples if anybody's following along for seeing Nell's work, what she's writing on right now. But the questions around user profiles. Who is this for?
Yeah,
And is it for fit and bendable people already? Is it for the masses? Is it for the elite? Is it for the biohackers, right? And I think that question is different depending on where you are in the world. So let's maybe do both, right? Because I think in the US we're seeing this start to be enter the culture, but enter it in a bunch of different ways. Who is the target demographic here? Who are the people that this is for when businesses are saying, "Yep, we want to invest in that"?
yeah, yeah. So we use a saying which is health is the new wealth, you know. We talk about that a lot with hoteliers, and with everybody. And it's well, you know, who wants to be well? I think everybody wants to be well. So it's you know getting that right, that balance right. And we work with some really luxury brands, and so they are, you know, they have some, you know, a, a good one to look at is Fairmont have just opened a spa up in Lake Louise called Basin. So everybody should have a little look at Basin. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. You know, it's high, super impressive. But then we're working with some others who are mom and pop startups. You know, they don't have millions of dollars. They only have a few $100,000. You know, which you do need. You need to go into it with a reasonable budget. You know, but it's then it becomes wellness for everybody. And the hotel chains have started to sense this as well. In the past, spa was probably for their 5-star brands, their 4-star brands. But now that sort of demographic, you know, idea of wellness is becoming so much stronger. But you've got to make it affordable and you've got to make it approachable and you can't make it too stiff and you've got to make it friendly and you've got to be, I'm going to use this word authentic again. You've got to make it authentic because we're starting to see, you know, I was in Bathhouse 5, 6 weeks ago. Bathhouse is in New York. It was there was probably 600 people in there, you know, and it was everybody was under 30, you know, 70% female, um, and everyone's having a ball, you know, everyone's just having a great time, and bathhouse is, you know, it's a bathhouse, it's a beautifully done bathhouse, but it's that sort of, that demographic expansion of wellness is super important. And sorry, one last thing is that, and brands, all these big, they have lots of brands. You know, Hilton has 20, Accor has 19, Marriott has, 25. How do the brands differentiate themselves? So we're starting to see more and more of that. You know, interestingly enough, all of these big brands are now moving into glamping, which they hated before. They wanted nothing to do with glamping, and now they all do because they see it's a different target group. You know, Hyatt have just bought a company called Under Canvas, which is really worthwhile looking at. Hilton have just bought AutoCamp, and Marriott have just bought the Outdoor Connection. You know, so these big major brands
Yep.
have bought these glamping sites, and that is for, so it's for everybody. Who doesn't benefit from feeling better? You know.
Yep. I love that. And I think hearing that both this, there are places that zero in on a key demographic.
Yeah.
Bathhouse, Jason and the guys over there are doing great work. They're building, they're launching spaces, but they are focused on in a city like New York, you can get super niched and say, hey, we're for young folks that want to trade the club or bar experience for something that is a little healthier for us and feels really good. Now, you could go to the Hiltons of the world and you could look at not a 5-star location, but a 3-star location, and say, hey, this is for anybody who's going to be sleeping here, or even the community to come and be a part of it. And it's a new way to sort of, meet people. And I think when we look broadly and culturally around Europe, I do think bathing culture is intergenerational. And when we see models that invite folks, both kids, young adults, folks in their later years, retirees, like then you can even out your operational ups and downs of, oh my gosh, your middle of the day that's focused on folks that are have extra time, aren't working. They come in and you create programming for them. That's a better way to create the operational model for getting people in the door and not just being at a sauna nightclub. And so I think there's worlds where you can get really creative or you can get really specific in who your audience is depending on where you are. Matt, show and tell for us a little bit. Show us what are the models that you're seeing here. And
Yeah,
then once we do that, we're going to come back to if we got more questions coming in. But give us another bit of this show and tell on the
yeah.
ways in which hospitality are investing in opening spaces like this.
Yeah, I think yeah, and I think I've showed you some pretty fancy, some quite expensive setups. I want to show you some others. A question we get asked: Where's the world's largest sauna? You know, where's the world's largest? Everyone says Finland, Sweden, Scandinavia. The largest sauna ever built was a pop-up sauna in Rose, Georgia. You know, so, and don't get me wrong, it's part of the Running Man Festival. It's enormous, but it's just, it's just something that's about the experience of it. I bet you everybody who went there, they'll never forget that as long as they live, you know. And what we're starting to see now is that you don't have to have you don't have to be a Hilton or an Accor or a Marriott or whatever. You need to be creative. You need to have some vision. You need some help. You need some help, like from the likes of you, Justin. Partners that can help you, guide you through this process. But this is one. This is Bathe in Austin. Car park space, they've astroturfed it. They built a wooden fence around it, sauna, cold plunge, and they've got a few more things going on. They've got DJs. They've got, there's a party vibe at times, and there's a cam vibe at times. But they're doing so well. They're going to fit out the inside of their building like this. And I want to go. I'm going to go a bit quick again, everybody. Sorry. Um, Portal. Who doesn't love the Portal guys? They're really onto something. It's in a back of a church car park. You know, wooden fence. This has crushed it. I've been to this 3 times. Every time I've been, it's been busy, and it's been so busy they control the numbers. They don't want it to be too busy, but it's not millions of dollars. It's well thought through. It's fairly simple. It's 2 saunas. It's 4 cold plunges. It's a shower. It's a little changing area. There's another example from Portal, back of a brewery next to a tree. You think, what? Who builds a well? This has crushed it. This was their first one they started with, and this did so well. And you get the idea. Everyone's wearing the hats. The hats are definitely part of it. I've got my little collection of hats here. There's my other ship hat, $64. Um, so so they're all doing. You get the idea of it. Let me skip past some of the Portal ones. Alchemy Springs in San Francisco, little outdoor area at the back of a building. You know, Authentic, real. You know, doesn't have to be super polished. It's not Four Seasons, although Four Seasons are doing this as well, but it's just nicely done. Tality, this is a kombucha company, and what they're doing is they're providing a social connection that's not around alcohol. It's not a party, but it's still providing people that ability to connect and come with your friends, meet new friends. Every time I've been to Portal, I've chatted with people, half my age. People want to chat. People want to talk to you. So there's a lot of this going on. Den Mother in California, same idea, a bit nicer, but cold plunge sauna. You get the gist of it. This is one that we worked on in Houston. Super hot, but just well done. This paid for itself within 8 months. Framework in Nashville, you're starting to get the idea of it. It is, how creative can you be? What space do you have? You can be adaptable. You can put your sauna and cold plunge everywhere. They're not big footprints. You just have to think through what your strategy is and how does it tie into the story you're gonna tell. Wellness clubs are doing this, so it's hotels. This is a wellness club. This is predominantly an athletic club. They had a little bit of space outside. AstroTurf, sauna, cold plunge. This is a great little hotel. I mean, just a little boutique hotel, they've got this, they call it the sauna oasis. It's got cold plunge, it's got one sauna. It's just a lovely experience. Four Seasons, doing a tremendous job. Recognize these, Justin?
I've heard of them. I've been there once or twice.
So, but then there's so many of this. It's like, what space do you have? If you have an outdoor space, you can do something. But this is Galgorm. They've created the spa village. This has been European Spa of the Year now. This was just an empty garden before. This had nothing on it a few years ago. And they've added to it. They did one and they did another, did another, did another. People are coming from all over Europe to go to this hotel now, you know. Um,
Now, Matt, I bet people are sort of like rubbernecked right now. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's
Sorry.
happening all over. I'm behind. I haven't done it yet. What do I got to do next?" Talk to us about, there's some good questions coming in here. Talk to us about permitting. It's getting these things built, and I think of that in terms of ADA
Yeah,
accessibility. I
yeah,
think about it in terms of longevity. I think about it in terms of getting the right yeses from the right constituents. And Chris just asked a great question after the first few. Now there's been a few that are permitted pools in there, but Chris said, "Hey, doesn't look like any of these examples have permitted pools. What are your thoughts on that?" So let's dive in for a minute on this dynamic of what can you the process of getting it done and built versus just like plopping in barrels and boxes and above
yeah.
ground pools.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to start with a plan. You need a business plan about how you're going to do this, and you need to start the permitting process early. Our experience has been you've got to go to the city, you've got to go to them early on. You got to talk to them, build a relationship, and they will help. Their job is to encourage you and to get your business going. So you just have to and every city has somebody whose job it is to help start our businesses now. Every city does. And they can help you navigate through the permitting process, which I get can be a little bit daunting. It's a little bit, oh my gosh, where do I go? What do I do? But they will help. I would also say that, lean on your partners. And this is one of the reasons why I don't want to be, just praising you all the time, but you need a partner who's not just going to sell you a sauna and walk away. You need a partner who's there with you from the start, who's going to give you advice, who's going to give you some help, who's going to say, no, you need to think about ADA. You need to think about where you're going to put it. Where's your plan? Where's your little block diagram that shows how you're going to lay it out? Where's the power going to come from? Where's the water going to come from? What booking system are you going to use? There's lots of operationally things that you need to think through. So it is a matter of, plan it plan it out, put it in your business plan, and then if you need help, look for help. Look for help from you, look for help from us, look for help from someone else who's doing it. I think that's one thing I think about the wellness community and this, they really are willing to share, it's not like, I think I said this before, rising tide lifts all boats. The more there are, the better everyone's going to get, the more it's going to help everyone out. So I think there is a lot of it. There is a lot of help out there, but you have to plan. There's no getting away from it. You need to plan and you need to prepare.
Matt, Tyler's saying, psyching up big time. Thanks for this, Justin and Matt. We have people being like, this is great. Let me do this. We have people asking, where do I find to compare all their sauna and spa experiences? Nell wants to go on a bathhouse hopping trip with you, Matt. So to get a few more hats, you and Nell can do that. Um, I think this is really exciting. So people are seeing it. They're seeing it all the ways. To double back down on this, if we think about this as an industry, it's the short burn and the long burn here. When I see people thinking about ADA accessibility, when I see them thinking about high quality of structures that are going to last, when I see them thinking about how do you welcome more folks in your community, i.e., ADA, ease of use, cleanliness. Oh my gosh, make
Yeah,
sure you're designing a space that can be cleaned and operated really well. What you're doing is you're helping the industry grow in a way that is healthy, as opposed to flash in the pan. Let's try this. If it doesn't work, whatever. The barrel's gonna. We had somebody just ask about thoughts on Lolu and steam in a barrel. Now I'm a sauna snob, guys. Unabashedly, I care a lot about the heat in that room. They're quick. Barrels are quick and easy and easy to put together and cheap in your budget. And I think one thing we're all doing here in North America is introducing people to quality around these components. and to what level you can invest in higher quality experiences, higher quality of water, higher quality of heat, you're going to get more return business. You're going to get more people believing in it. You're going to get more people coming back again. And so, Wayne, you asked a question about that. I think it's really there is so many areas we can geek in and geek out here. I also don't want to see something burn down. I don't want to see somebody have a slip and fall. I want you to think about your insurance as you build out one of these businesses. That's how we're going to get these spaces that will be kind of figures in a community for decades and be there and be a part of serving a community for a long time, as opposed to, hey, the hip wellness space was cool for 3 years, and then everybody moved on from sauna, bathing, cold plunge fad to the next thing that's interesting in new modalities. So I think we're turning the corner here, Matt. What does the future look like? I think all these questions are being asked. We're really good stuff. Um, What's your bet on the future of hospitality and bathing? What does the world look like in the next 5, 10, and even 20 years around this?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably working just now on about 20 projects globally. Every single one of them is has got a bathing element to it, that's more substantial than it ever was before. I think that the business model for bathing, as opposed to traditional spa, traditional spa is one to one, one therapist, one guest. It's blooming expensive. You can't find therapists now, because there's so many spas have been built. It's difficult to find therapists. We're working on a project in Hawaii, and they're paying the therapist a $5,000 start, because you can't find them. And don't get me wrong, they don't get 5,000 on day one, they get 1,000, and then they get da, 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 da. But that shows you how difficult it is. Whereas the bathing model it is about volume. It's about more people can go through it quicker, and you could control your numbers. You can't have it, crazy. You've got to be, size appropriate. The big Canadian ones, yeah, they can cope with 300 people a day. Portal, another great example. They limit it down to 16 people at a time. So it doesn't feel packed. But that is the wellness case for it, the business case for it, the startup costs of it, the ROI on it. That is not going to slow down. I would say, can I do some more show and tell?
Oh,
Or
please.
sorry, I'm going to drive everyone crazy with all this. Let me share something else. So let's get away from this one first of all. Hang on a sec. Work. The Thermi group guys, and this is a bit more of follow the money, you know. So Thermi Group are predominantly European based. They are coming to America along with the Canadian bathing guys, So they've got three planned, and we're worthwhile looking at their sites. It is a combination of adult water park meets thermal bathing, an absolute fortune to build it, an absolute fortune to build it. But they are going to introduce people who have no idea what we're talking about now to a massive audience. I mean, a massive audience. They've got plans to do them everywhere, you know. And so this expansion of what I'm going to call the big guys, this is going to benefit everyone, and now you look at Bathhouse, you look at Othership, you look at Flow House, you look at all these other guys that they're just going to help educate more and more and more people, and they're going to help everybody, and also they're going to set a standard for, like with the hospitality groups, like the glamping things we're working with. So one of the glamping programs we're working with, they have cabins. They're going to put a sauna and a cold plunge by every single cabin. So guests are going to get used to it, and they're going to learn that experience. And then when they come back from their vacation, they're going to go, well, where can I get this in town? Oh, I can't get it anywhere. So there's this expansion of bathing absolutely not slowing down, And we're working on some projects. We do a lot of numbers. We do a lot of number crunching. We do a lot of finances, projections and stuff, because a lot of owners they want to know, what's my ROI, how much do I need to put, it's just not going to slow down, And even in Europe now,
Yeah.
we're starting to see, this sort of smaller model doesn't have to be crazy expensive. I own an Airbnb. Yeah, put us like that Wolf Cove Inn. They did a little sauna oasis. it's a sauna and a cold plunge, and guests love it. And what they've done is made them they can increase, a bit of hotel talk. There's something called an average daily rate, which is how much you charge for your hotel room. So you can add a sauna and a cold plunge to your hotel or to your Airbnb or to whatever, and you can bump up your rate by $10, $20. So it's got that sort of, it's affecting your hotel business by putting a sauna and a cold plunge somewhere else. And then occupancy goes up, and hotels are driven by occupancy. So there's this whole of these little things, little, but they're all making a difference. And then the guest satisfaction's going up and up and up and up and up. It's just not slowing down at all.
Matt, thank you. I think that big picture of, hey, follow the money, look at what the big players are doing. You brought up both the Canadian firms, also the European firms. I'd love to have folks go check out. We have a webinar with Adam Bamba Tanaka from the Therme Group. He's their COO that's really looking at the North American sauna boom. And I know some of those folks. I mean, personally, I think they're great. They're building the Disneyland of wellness. It is, it's an amusement park, it's a water park, and that scale in Dallas and in DC that they're doing, that takes 5, 10 years to actually get off the ground, right? They're thinking in acres. They're thinking in all of those facilities. Therme Group doesn't do anything smaller than the ability to host 1 million people in 1 year. 1 million people in 1 year. So we're seeing the market grow on that end and invest in that way to the tunes of billions of dollars. And we're seeing the local Airbnb say, how do I increase my occupancy? How do I increase my ADR, my average daily rate? It's probably put a little sauna oasis in the back. And then we're seeing in the middle of that all of these sauna village concepts where people are coming out and saying, I want to add this collection of saunas and pools and spaces. And I often put that in kind of a 25 seats or so. You can really draw a lot of revenue there. I think, Matt, a lot of your examples were where it was like, hey, let's
Yeah.
put a number of small spaces, let's build them out. I think those are some of the creative models that really get people, not everybody on this call is going to be able to do the $1 billion Therme installation or the Canadian Scandinave development for 20 to 50 million. But talk to me, Matt, about the costs here. What is
Yeah.
bracket this a little bit, both for today and in the future? Where does that line go for when you're running to launch something? What should people be expecting to invest in these areas?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I think where the outdoor model is so, cost effective. You know, you you know, you look at Basin, Lake Louise, millions and millions of dollars because the indoor saunas are expensive, because they are, you need to get the drains right, you need to get the air conditioning right, you need to get there's a lot more
It's
complication to it.
just to double down on that. It's plumbing and HVAC, and
Yeah.
it's all the ways that those thermal elements impact all the other systems in the building. They are they're just really energy and labor intensive spaces to build, especially when they're inside a spa, a building, a basement, a hotel. You're really, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of concrete to be dug into. So
Yes.
I agree with you wholeheartedly as somebody who, we built Other Ships Brooklyn Sauna recently for their new location. And it is what a bear to do a maximalist experience right in the heart of Brooklyn. It's amazing when it gets done right, but also that's not everybody's story, right? Not everybody wants to or should go down that path.
Yeah. And I think that's really where the scalability and the phasing of outdoor projects is really interesting. We're definitely starting to see, hey, start with one sauna and two cold plunges, plan it so that when you then add in a second one, you then add in a couple more cold plunges. You can phase it, and I would say you don't want to dive into this, without the portal guys are a great example. And I'm guesstimating their costs here from 20 years of experience. It's probably $500,000. Two decent saunas, enough to cope with 20 people, four cold plunges, changing area, what have you. Little office, back of house. You need to have some money to do it, but it's not. How you think about, okay, six partners each chipping in 50,000. Okay, then we're good to go. We can get started, and that includes Okay, some operating costs, insurance is super important, making sure you get your software, super important. You don't want, I think we see a lot of, mom and pop people start off and they think, I'll do everything. Oh, you want to make your life hell, do everything, or lean into the software guys that can do your payments, that can do your bookings, that can give you an interesting structure, sell memberships, sell packs, sell drop-ins. You can switch it on and you can switch it off with these now. You can up the price at weekends, you can drop the price. That dynamic pricing thing is super interesting. You know, making sure you don't nickel and dime people too much. But that sort of, that makes it just a much more affordable, which is where we're seeing like the hotel brands. It's now they're thinking about this for their 2-star, 3-star hotels. Okay, we've got the road warriors who are out there day in, day out, driving the blooming highways of America, doing big distances. We want to help them sleep better. Guys, come and have a sauna and a cold plunge and you'll sleep better. And then tomorrow you'll be feel better and you're on the road again. But they don't stay in 5-star hotels. They stay in 3-star hotels. They stay in motels. So it's how can you help those people? And then people realize, okay, this brand's trying to help me. I have a relationship with them, and it is, like we're working on a couple of projects. It's going to be in car parks. They've got 6, 7, 8 spaces in a car park and a little bit of, maybe a trees hanging over or something. It's very, very doable. It's very doable.
So Matt, we got some great questions coming in, and I want to hit on a couple that are kind of operational because you've done that side of it too. One is somebody, Nick's asking, I find it interesting that people are paying to relax and calm down, and then here's your time window to do that. And there's sort of this pressure sometimes, depending on what you walk into, of like,
Yes.
oh gosh, get all my rest and my recovery and my relaxation in 75 minutes. Um, can you talk just about what you're seeing in terms of operational day passes, time
Yeah.
slots, classes,
Yeah.
and I'll say there's no one right answer here. Everybody's trying everything. But what are you seeing in terms of that? And also what does that mean in terms of scale? Because Scandinave and the Nordic group, yeah, you can have 300 people there a day. You can have lots of space, but they have acres to work with. Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about passes and operational people throughput.
Yeah. I do think that with that scalability is key. You've got to decide on when you're starting off. What are you? Who are your audience? Who are your customers? We do. And I'm not. This isn't for everyone, but there are tools out there like LoopNet and Crexy, which will let you pull data, demographic data, around where you're going. 20-minute drive time, stuff like that as well. So I would say everybody should do that first of all. I'm going to build my bathhouse here. Do a drive time radius. Look to how many people you've got in there. Um, I think we're starting to see, so you decide on what your model is, and I get it is a volume game. If you're big enough, Bathhouse, New York, they don't care. People can stay all day long, because it's huge. The smaller ones, you do have to control the time of it. But the beauty about sauna and cold plunge is that people kind of self-select out of it. There's only so much sauning and cold plunging you can do before you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm good. I'm good. And we typically find that, if you're doing sauna for an hour and a half, that's a lot of sweating. People self-select out. They just go, I'm done. I'm done. You know. So I think that's the key to it, making sure your facility is, and we use this term a lot, right sized, for your demographic, because your customers, you know where they're coming from, you've done your drive time radius, you see what's going on in your area. And I would say a lot of them, we're not the police. If someone stays 10 minutes longer, okay, you stay 10 minutes longer. We're not, right, time to get out, everybody out. There's none of that. And the way some places do it, so Air Ancient Baths, another one, again, a bit fancier. They have this lovely system. They tell you you're in for an hour and a half. They make it crystal clear you're in for an hour and a half. Halfway through, they go around, they ding a dong, they bang a gong, they ring a bell. People know, okay, I'm halfway through. uh, And then it kind of naturally, okay, 5 minutes longer, 10 minutes longer. No, 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 no big deal, you know.
Yeah, I would double down on that and just say, I think people at a lot of points want to be guided, especially if they're
Yes.
new into it. They want to know, hey, what should I expect? Take me on the journey, but how long should I do that, right? And especially at American audiences who don't have the sort of mental furniture for this is a thing I've done my whole life. Um, they are going to self-select, or they're going to sort of, if you don't tell them, they're gonna maybe push it, or they're gonna not get a lot out of it, right? And so having some layer of, whether it's the gong halfway, whether it's a guide coming in, whether it's an Aufguss experience, whether it's having support along the way to say, hey, build your operational model. The smaller spaces, it's like turning tables in the restaurant. You do want to give people an amount of time for their sake, and it's more likely for fast-paced people in America to bite off a smaller chunk as they begin versus saying, I'm going to give my whole day here. I'm going to book a thing for my whole day. You really have to sort of get the question there of, are you going to offer something that has some level of boundary around it so people say yes to it? And then how do you operate around turning the tables and cleaning the saunas between? Or are you going to operate out of this big free flow spa complex where people are going to go on their daily journey? But you're right, Matt, after 90 minutes, 2 hours, people get hungry. And then in a big space, you got to give them a little nourishment because they've just sweated a lot of sodium out of their body. And they're like, somebody wants to go eat pickles. Cold pickles after sauna, pro tip. It just hits so hard. So I think those are the kinds of things that, get creative around the model. I have one more question here for you, Matt. We're running end of time. We're going to land the plane on time. Michael is asking, talk about the investor types you're seeing sort of for the mom and pop shops up to the Therme type scale. Therme just raised $1 billion, right? That's huge private equity. It's huge companies. But before you get there, what does it look like? Who's investing in this? How are you investing in it? What does debt look like? What does brokers? Give me some
Yeah.
things you're seeing.
Yep. So the big guys, they're doing it because they see the ROI. They see the investment return. So they're business folks. They're doing it because it's going to make them money. They understand the trend. They can see where it's going. We're doing a lot of residential apartments now, where before, they have pools on their deck and what have you, but they're now doing it. They're doing it because there's a solid business case for it. Why are we putting a sauna? And you helped us just and do Arden, for Fifield in Denver. Great
Mhm.
example. Crane in a sauna, drop it by the pool, you know, guest experience through the roof. Everybody loves it, but they're doing it because there's a business case to it. I think with your startups, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, unique here. It's friends and family. You start off with friends and family. Who do you know? Who can you introduce to it? That's so we're seeing a project now we're working on. A guy who had a chair mat company. He did chair mats, nothing to do with anything that's hospitality based, but he loves the idea of sauna. He loves the idea of cold plunge. He gets it. He understands. He can see the trend. We've shared figures with him in numbers and stuff, so he gets it. And it's not a huge investment. It is. You can spread that cost out between 5, 6 people. Okay, they're looking for an ROI as well. They're looking for, so okay, how much am I going to make? But you can give people their returns can be easily way, way more than they'll make sticking the money in a bank. You know, there's a risk. There's always a risk, but the returns, we're seeing people, you know, again, little mom and pop startups, every investor's making 26% a year. It's like, okay, what bank can I stick my money in the bank? I'm not making 26%. So, but you've got to get the right market and what have you, but that I think that's what we're seeing. So both, all shapes and
Yep.
sizes.
Yeah, and I would add on that, depends on your vision and depends on your scale. And I do see, there are versions of SBA financing, bank financing that
Yes,
comes when you have a proven business model, when you have a good business plan, when you can show, hey, look at our sauna village that we self-funded, we got off the ground, it impacted this, and then what it did next we're going to do the scale up and we're going to build the village bigger or we're going to build the bathhouse. You showed Bathe in Austin. That's a perfect example of that, right? Where they have big vision for a bathhouse, but to get there, they're doing a small concept. invite everybody to go check out Lost Language Sauna in Chicago. They're opening next month. Small sauna village, and I think it's going to go bonkers this winter in Chicago, and then that's going to fund a bigger bathhouse for them in the future. Lost Language are some folks. This is a good turn. I just did a really good connection here, Matt. They are folks who entered our Sauna Business Accelerator program a year ago, and now they're launching their new space. If you guys have questions like this, if you want to talk to Matt, reach out to him directly. If you want to be in a room with operators and experts and people who are solving these questions every day with coaching and community and support, uh, talk to our team about our Sauna Business Accelerator program. We've coached 70 plus entrepreneurs who have developed their spaces, who've launched their spaces all over the world, from here to Ireland, from Canada to we have a woman in Tasmania who's thinking about this concept down there. So we would love to work with you. Matt, such a joy to be here today with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We are landing the plane on time. We got people giving their thumbs ups and thank yous and appreciation. And Matt, I just can't wait to keep doing projects like this together and keep being a part of it together, or working with folks like you who understand all the details. Tyler, who's launching Umwelt in Bozeman, Montana right now, is saying that was euphoric. Matt, your work here today was euphoric. Thanks from Tyler in Bozeman. Also, people go check out Umwelt in Bozeman when you're in Montana. Matt, we really appreciate it. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, you guys check out the recording. We'll have this online soon, and reach out to our team. We cannot wait to see you on the next one. We got 2 more left for the year, and what a joy to be in the movement and in the industry right now. You heard it from Matt that things are growing and it's not slowing down. Thanks for being here with us. We'll see you all. See you soon.